The most important thing, of course, as a board member is raising money.
Yes.
There's just never going to be an end to it, and you just, you sit right down and you know that from the day one. Mm-hmm. But 74% of the charitable giving in this country is by individuals.
Yes.
And so I consider that to be our, and needs to be our primary focus. We get grants.
Mm-hmm.
There's some wonderful companies here in town that are very generous, but you really rely on the individual, and you need to take care of those individuals. I'm not sure any of the charities or any of the nonprofits are good enough at taking care of their donors.
Welcome to the Give and Grow DSM podcast, the show where we share compelling stories of the nonprofits shaping Iowa's future. Host Siobhan Spain dedicates 3 episodes to each organization, offering listeners unique perspectives through interviews with the nonprofit's leader, an active donor, and a beneficiary of its programming. Give and Grow DSM is a philanthropic initiative founded by Andy and Sarah Suzanne and the RIA Group, dedicated to serving the organizations and individuals in our community who need it most. Learn more and listen in at giveandgrowdsm.com. Welcome to the Give and Grow DSM podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan Spain. You're listening to our second of 3 episodes featuring Children and Family Urban Movement, or CFUM. Its mission is to create a community that supports the potential of children, youth, and families through educational success, healthy living, and community engagement. For decades, the organization has offered free weekday breakfast and dinner to anyone in need, no questions asked. CFUM is located at 1548 8th Street in Des Moines, inside Trinity United Methodist Church in the Riverbend neighborhood. CFUM also provides powerfully effective programming to elementary school children at Moulton Elementary, which is slated to be demolished at the end of the school year. So today I have the pleasure of welcoming Nicola, or Nicky Schissel, to Amplify DSM's recording studio. Welcome. It's so nice to have you here. So Nicky has served as a vice president at Federal Home Loan Bank, assistant commissioner at Iowa Lottery, and as a senior member of Governor Ray's staff, where she helped to draw a broad array of qualified women into roles in state government. Nicky demonstrates her commitment to the Des Moines community through numerous volunteer roles at organizations such as Young Women's Resource Center, United Way of Central Iowa, the World Food Prize, and as board president of Children and Family Urban Movement. So thank you again for making Des Moines a great place to live and work. I really appreciate all the work you do on behalf of our community.
Thank you so much, Siobhan. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. What is it about CFUM that attracted your attention and support?
Well, as you read off, I have done a lot of volunteer work over the years. And one of the things that struck me so much about CFUM is, first of all, I was recruited by a number of friends who had been involved with CFUM for years, people who I had deep respect for. And so I knew that the organization was going to be something that I would be engrossed in. So I started out as a reader, and my husband did too. I ran into some friends at lunch one day, and they were chatting, and I sat down with them, and they recruited me. And I said, this is something my husband and I can do. And
because the reason CFUM had a reading program?
They have a reading program. They still do have a reading program. Okay. And I liked so much the idea of hands-on, front row. In other words, many of the commitments I've made have been on boards or organizations where I really was never with the services or the client. Right. So what I found particularly enjoyable and attractive about this was to actually work with the kids. So my husband and I started reading probably around 2019. It was before the pandemic.
Okay.
And because I remember trying to read with them online during the pandemic, and trying to read with like a 6-year-old on Zoom is nearly impossible. Their attention span is easy. They're easily distracted, shall we say. And suddenly I'd be looking at a blank screen. I'd be like, where'd you go? So after the pandemic, we continued on, and we were assigned to young people. I had a little girl, and John has a young boy that he reads with, and this is probably our 4th or 5th year with the same 2 children.
Oh, wow.
And it's something that's very ongoing. I think it's important that the children can learn to depend on someone.
Yes.
I don't know how much
Good point.
personal information. I don't want to give away anyone's secret, but the young woman that she's in 4th grade now, she's 10, that I read with had some, let's say, family disruptions in her earlier days. And so stability has been really, really important, and I've really felt a responsibility to be there for her.
That's a really great point, and what a good aspect of CFUM that you're able to do that.
Yes.
That is, I haven't heard that before very much. Usually the reading programs, you stick with it for a year maybe, but to continue with the same student is so cool. I love that.
The young boy that John reads with, his mother was living with her sister and her mother probably in the neighborhood, but she kind of really blossomed, got her act together, started a cleaning company, and they moved to Beaverdale. And so, which was all well and good, except for her son said, "Oh no, I'm not going to school out here. I have to go back to Moulton."
Oh.
And so she drives him to Moulton every day. He's still there, and that's been a couple of years anyway. But his ties to the school and to CFUM were so strong that was it. He had to be there.
Oh, that's so great to hear. Really nice. I love that he's able to talk through his actions about where he wants to be and why it's important, right?
Yes, he reads really, really well. He doesn't really need any help with reading. So it's really more of a mentor-type relationship. And John and he just read all kinds of books and do all kinds of things. And, they have discussions and so forth. So it's really very nice.
Oh, that's cool. Mentorship is an important aspect of CFUM. It seems like the people that have gone through the program often come back and help others because they know the impact and how to relate to the kids that are in the program. Do you have any concerns about Moulton being demolished, and what will happen to those kids while it's being rebuilt?
I have a lot of concerns,
Yeah.
and it's, the Des Moines Public Schools, it's gone through some traumatic experiences of its own.
Yes.
So I do want to cut them a lot of slack and leeway, but steps were late getting taken. There were some personnel changes. We were very late in finding where the kids were going to go, and they're going to be bused about 30 minutes away. And then we had a hard time finding out where we were going to have our summer program. Awesome Summer Days is just that. It's awesome. Starts at 6:30 in the morning and goes to 5:30 in the evening, and this is free daycare, academic achievement, field trips, all kinds of things, different kinds of clubs. The Art Center comes over. They go to the Science Center. They take field trips. It's an amazing program, but we didn't have any home because asbestos abatement will be starting in June at Moulton.
Okay.
So you can't be anywhere near it.
Right.
So, but they're going to be at Samuelson, which
Okay.
is fairly close. So we've got that studied or
Great.
set up, and there's some wrinkles to iron out, but we'll get it done.
Yeah.
And it's about 75 to 100 kids every summer, and
right.
it's 10 weeks, so it's an important program.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yes, and families. Imagine how you depend on that for your child care if
Yeah.
you're working.
Yeah, that's a lot of coordination as well.
Yes.
That you'll have to manage.
Yes.
Okay. So you've mentioned a personal story from your experience with CFUM. Is there any other that stand out, some specific relationship that you have, or some story of success, just to kind of put listeners in your shoes about what it's like to support the organization?
I think that I'm amazed every year
Yeah.
about the things that go on and the things that the staff is able to do. I think if you go to the Christmas lunch or dinner, whatever it is, and the different kinds of things that you see the kids enjoying, you realize the value in the program. You look at these little smiling faces, and it's just amazing, and you think, where would they be without it? What would they be doing? I mean, after school in particular, they'd be home. Many of them would be home alone.
Yes, they would.
And
Absolutely.
They'd be the old latchkey children, as we used to say.
Yeah.
Just my children tell me they were. So they weren't. But I think that's just the most significant part of it. That, and when people get involved, they do seem to stay involved. It seems to really grab at your heart and lead you right down the path. For a while there was a change in leadership at CFUM, and so one of the people that recruited me and myself, she's like, "What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." And she goes, "Well, I ran into this other friend, and she says you're a really good writer. So will you write grants?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll write grants, whatever. I don't know that I ever had, but, we'll figure it out." So she and I wrote grants for a year, and I found that to be actually pretty rewarding as well. We weren't all that bad.
You're a gem.
We got some money. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
It was very exciting. We had one grant that we just worked our little hearts off of. We didn't get as much as we wanted, but we got some. So that was very rewarding, too, in an entirely different way. But you felt like you could really make a contribution.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many aspects that go into running an organization like this.
Yes.
They do so much, and they have so much impact that there's a lot of areas that they could use help, I'm sure.
Yes.
Right?
The most important thing, of course, as a board member is raising money.
Yes.
There's just never going to be an end to it, and you just, you sit right down and you know that from the day one. Mm-hmm. But 74% of the charitable giving in this country is by individuals.
Yes.
And so I consider that to be our, and needs to be our primary focus. We get grants.
Mm-hmm.
There's some wonderful companies here in town that are very generous, but you really rely on the individual, and you need to take care of those individuals. I'm not sure any of the charities or any of the nonprofits are good enough at taking care of their donors.
Yeah,
so,
what would you say to them right now about that? What's a common thread that you see that's getting lost?
Well, relationships. In other words, I was at a meeting this morning for CFUM, and we discussed the fact that we discussed it several months ago about having a meal, lunch, dinner in the church where Breakfast Club and Supper Club take place. Mm-hmm. So, because many of our donors have never been there, they've never seen what the environment is. Yeah. And this is not to ask them for money. This is to tell them more about the program, show them the program, and say thank you. Mm-hmm. This is what you're supporting. This is the important parts, and these are the things that go on here every day that your money helps us do. And I think that's just a critical thing that we will get done here sometime in May and June. So
good.
Looking forward to it.
It does seem very important for people to be able to go see their impact in person, get to know the organization, not just on paper through a grant or maybe a pamphlet that they get, but really show up, because it really makes a difference.
It does make a difference. It just makes a huge difference. All of the work that I have done, generally, it's been after I've had an experience with them at some point in time. But it is just critical. And to keep your donor. In other words, donors have lots of opportunities, needless
to say.
They really do. And, they're solicited quite frequently, and many of the people that give to CFUM are, giving to other charities as well. So we want to stand out in their mind as the one that says thank you the most and the best.
All right. I like that. I like that goal. I was talking to a friend the other day about how we in Des Moines have such great aspect in our individual donors. They give so much. They're generous, especially in the arts. Iowa is one of the lowest funded for the arts compared to Minnesota. Mm. So the fact that we have such amazing resources and assets here mean that the individual donor has really stepped up. So, and we interview a lot of donors here on Give and Grow. I'm curious if you have a company that stands out that's doing their charitable giving right. Because I know the fundraising landscape has changed quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And who, for instance, supports CFUM, and what do you see them doing that's
Hard to single any one of our wonderful corporate
I know.
donors out.
I was going to
Siobhan.
say, I'm sure it's hard to point out one, but
if we go back, the interesting thing about Des Moines and bringing up the individual donor, I can go way, way back, obviously. I've been here many, many years. But you go back and the Des Moines Register, Yonkers, Equitable of Iowa, all those companies were locally owned.
Yes.
And you knew the people. You could just go
Yes.
knock on doors.
Right.
And there were people in town that did that all the time. And, there was a consortium, and they would get Bankers Life. Principal's still a wonderful company, and they
Yes.
give a lot of things. But Bankers Life, it was different when it was much, much smaller.
Yeah.
So, and things changed. And I think that's when individual giving became such a necessity. And I would say that, many of the corporations that are located here, I will single out banks. Let's just do that, because I
Yeah.
can do it in general.
Okay.
Because there are probably 4 or 5 banks that support CFUM on a regular basis. We had an event at Top Golf a week or so
Yes.
ago.
That sounds
and
like it was a great
It
success.
was a lot of fun. It was a little chilly, but it was
Yeah.
fun. And they support our event in the fall. We have a brunch type of event,
Okay.
breakfast. And so the banks are very good. And I think that's important because they see the value. In other words, these are their customers throughout the community. And so it stands to reason that the banks are going to step up and say, well, sure, you all are out here doing your thing, and let us be supportive as well.
That's good to hear. And you bring up an interesting point that's been on my mind, is that these local business owners were accessible in here. I am seeing that change quite a bit, and I wonder how that's going to impact Des Moines when Meredith gets sold, and that family isn't local anymore. The Krauses, the Whiteses, the Hubbles, when the next generation is not here either. Do you have any thoughts on where Des Moines is going to go as a response?
Well, fortunately, there's some entrepreneurs that are pick up the slack. But I think Meredith is a great example. I don't know anybody that's gotten any money from Dash.
Nope.
I
don't either.
And Meredith used to be very supportive, and
Yes.
you could go to Mrs. Meredith
Yeah.
and ask her. So yes, all of those things are going to have left a gap. So again, back to the individual donor, back to involving them as much as possible in what you're trying to do and what your goals are. I think one of the things about CFUM is that almost any of the social services that you're worried about, we cover. In other words, food insecurity, education, daycare, we're hitting them all. And I think that really appeals to a lot of people. And so I think that's very important for fundraising.
Yeah, and I mentioned to Andy how when I visited there, it was just so impressive to see the kids just so happy and engaged, and even the staff, the young people that are staff there. It was so really, really heartwarming to see such engagement and real joy.
I can't say enough about the staff. The staff is absolutely marvelous. They have their heart and soul in it.
Aww.
And the other thing is that I've enjoyed immensely is that is it just this year or last year too? I can't remember. But anyway, we've been reading during lunchtime, which pros and cons. But anyway, that's the way it's been this year. And to go into that lunchroom, let's talk about the teachers and how they are so warm, they are smiling, they are interacting with the kids. And to have any teacher get a bum rap is really discouraging to me.
Right.
Because I've witnessed it one day a week. I'm in the lunchroom picking up my reader, and there they all are, helping them get their lunch. And it is noisy, needless to say, at the lunchroom.
Sure.
The other day it was raining, and the one teacher came by and says, "Welcome to the loudest place in the world right now." And yet, she was smiling and laughing and
Just
taking it in, patting them on the head, holding their hands. It's heartwarming.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody asked me, what are blind spots of nonprofits? And I had a similar response because I'm like, they work so hard. It is hard for me to point out or give them any digs because everyone has a blind spot usually because they're trying to do too much with too little. And so, but is there something that you mentioned, really building those relationship with donors? Is there anything else that you see nonprofits could do that could really make a difference in their fundraising?
Maybe.
Okay.
In other words, the Business Record had a breakfast, I'm not even going to get it right, I don't know, February sometime.
Okay.
And for nonprofits. And so during that breakfast, it was mentioned several times, and there was a report by Isaacs and Severson, who's their consultants here in town. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that report shows that many corporations feel that there's duplication of nonprofit services.
I've heard that a lot.
And so, if anything, if there's something that can be done to either alleviate that concern or to bring things together.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say that there isn't some duplication.
Right.
I think that there's location issues for many of these things that could not be necessarily combined simply because of the transportation and so forth. But I think it's something the nonprofit community in Des Moines needs to consistently and considerably look at on an annual basis. Is what are we doing that someone else is doing, and could we do it together?
Yeah.
And then
that's always a great question to ask, no matter what you're doing, right?
Yes.
One thing that I wonder about is how a lot of times they serve their immediate community and walking alongside them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times those neighborhoods or those situations are pretty unique. There are some common aspects that could be, but I love the fact that Change Course and these other organizations, their mission is really evolved in the nonprofit landscape to meet people where they're at more, it seems. I do think that asking about duplication is so key. And one thing that's come up lately is almost like the idea of franchising nonprofits. I mean, that seems kind of odd, but like Change Course learned from an organization in Denver, mm-hmm. and they're able to come and implement the program that they learned there. And they were thinking that they would like to talk to other nonprofits about adding aspects that mimic the success that they've had. Mm-hmm. And so that's a form of maybe addressing a little bit of that duplication.
Coordination, in partnership perhaps. But I think there are probably other things like that.
Yeah.
Not off the top of my head, mm-hmm. but let's just, for example, we're looking for a place for after school.
Yes.
Okay, so the kids will go to Kurtz, but then Lincoln High School apparently uses the building for their after-school projects or programs. So if we can find something in the neighborhood, because again, the kids will be bused back to the Moulton area. We're not sure exactly what pickup place is yet, but we're looking at a couple of churches in hopes that maybe they would come around. They have enough space.
Right.
Actually, our church, Trinity Church, does not have very much space, and we would not be able to qualify for or be licensed by Health and Human Services. So we were looking for enough space to be able to do that. The other thing that we don't know much about yet, it isn't open, but the Reichart Community Recreational Center is right around the corner.
That's right.
So I'm hoping we can do something in conjunction with them. Mm-hmm. And so they're just, you just have to keep looking for the openings and the opportunities that might present themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish CFUM the best of luck in that coordination. It sounds like they have a lot of great people helping them, mm-hmm. and I have no doubt that they'll figure it out because of their track record, right?
We will get something done. And speaking of the churches in Des Moines are terrific, and they come in and they do supper club. There's a fairly large number of them, and they come on a regular basis, like they do the second Tuesday of every month or whatever it is. And it's just it's just amazing the commitment they're willing to make to help their community.
Yeah, the volunteer hours really make a difference,
Yes,
don't they?
yes.
Yeah. How many hours a week do you think you volunteer right now?
Actually, quite a few, because being chair of the board also puts me on almost all of the committees. And so at any given month, I go to probably 3 or 4 committee meetings and an executive board meeting and a board meeting, and I do the agendas, and sometimes I have to review the minutes. I'm going to say I spend 4 or 5 hours a week on CFUM business directly.
Yes.
And
I bet.
and then maybe another hour and a half to go to read.
Mm-hmm.
And so 6 to 8 hours a week. It's okay. I'm retired, obviously.
Yeah, and it seems rewarding.
It is very rewarding, and I don't mind doing that kind of thing at all. And
what do you get out of it, would you say?
I get a sense of, first of all, at my age, I think a person needs to keep doing things that are worthwhile, or at least they feel that they're worthwhile. And this is a big one for me. I still do some work at the World Food Prize, which I also enjoy immensely. But again, that's very much very away from the end product. In other words, the World Food Prize is fabulous, and they do a lot of great work internationally, and they bring the people in for the dialogue. But the joy
impact is over there.
Yes, but the joy of CFUM, being right with the kids and being able to see the things take place right in your own backyard is a little bit more rewarding.
Yeah, that makes sense. Excellent. So what, if you had a magic wand, what could help more residents and companies to give back to their community more? We want to grow that. What might help?
I don't know how many of the businesses and companies here in town have community relations people.
Okay.
But I think that they all should have. And I think that they should get out into the community and seek the kinds of things that maybe their people are interested in volunteering for, or survey your employees and see what they're interested in volunteering for, and get that set up.
And make that happen.
Yes. And so, because doing that, then those people become donors, and they become supporters in a lot of different ways. So
I love that point.
It's hard for us to get out and reach all of them.
Yes.
So it would be wonderful. The magic wand would bring them out into the community to find some of us.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So what are your hopes for CFUM's future?
My hopes for CFUM's future is to get the building rebuilt. And it will be a different type of school, as I understand it. There's several meetings going on, but it's going to be an arts academy.
Fantastic.
And so I'm just hoping that it serves all the students and serves them well. I'm a little bit, they said they're going to tear down the building and rebuild it in 2 years.
I heard that too, and I was wondering.
Well, I'm just crossing my fingers on that a lot.
Okay.
It seems like there's potential delays in building and so forth. So
And
I guess a
construction
big thing would be if it could just get done on time. I think that would be very important, and very important for the kids. The little girl I read with said, "Oh, it's just fine. I'll be able to come back and they'll be 8th grade and I can graduate from Moulton."
Oh.
And I'm like, "Oh, yes, please let this happen."
Yeah.
She's counting on it, you know.
Yes.
And you forget how your school is such a big part of your life at that age.
Yeah.
And it's everything. And then she'll go to the summer program too. So CFUM makes a big difference. It was an interesting coincidence that one of the young men that works for the World Food Prize is out of Arizona. He works remotely. And he came, and I had not met Austin, and I met him, and it turns out he went through CFUM. And he is
how about that?
One of the best friends with Michael Hardat, who I think you're going to meet in a few days or whatever.
We'll talk to him in the
and
next
so
episode.
It became a very small world.
Yes.
And 2 very successful men that have gone through the program that were good friends all of their lives.
I love it.
I
love it.
It's wonderful. It is. If that doesn't show you how things can be successful, nothing does.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking, I was actually talking to several friends on that topic of chance or, circumstance of how Des Moines and the people, the residents know each other, there's just a lot of crossing the same paths, right?
Yes.
Synchronicity is
Yes.
pretty awesome when you have it align and
Right.
in a way it's fun to talk about because it is a small world. It makes you realize
It is
that,
a small
you know what?
world. And Des Moines is not a huge community.
Yeah.
And, of course, as I said, I've been here for a number of years.
Yeah.
So you cross a lot of paths in 50,
do.
60 years.
Yeah, it was funny when I got to know Andy. We worked within probably 3 blocks of each other in Los
Okay, in
Angeles.
Los Angeles.
Like it's just, yeah. I just love the small world aspect.
Right.
That
Yes.
keeps
yes.
things in perspective. That there's not a lot of
It
degrees
does.
of separation, and we should reach out to one another and see how we can help.
Right. And we need to, in this day and age, be extremely respectful of one another and know
Yes.
that, be careful. You may run into them in another life.
Good point.
In another place. So you want to be polite all the time.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nicky, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. It's been really insightful. Thank you for your time. Well, to our listeners, thanks for being here. You can always listen to us on your favorite platform like Spotify or Apple, and we're also on YouTube. Visit us at giveandgrowdsm.com for upcoming shows and recaps.